Okay. Welcome everyone to the Farside Business Builder this Thursday morning. Thank you for joining us. Today we have a really good trainer. I'm very excited to introduce to you Renate Jute of Noble Prosperity. Renate is an amazing business coach, and I'm going to hand over to her. Renate, if you're ready, and you can tell us all about yourself.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Okie dokie. So I think, Tamrin, are you going to pin or tag, whatever the fancy words of my video? And what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you can keep an eye on the comments, I'm going to close all those boxes so that I don't actually confuse myself. Sorry, just give me okay, sorry, I was just trying to get everyone not to make a noise whilst I'm presenting class.
No problem.
So, yeah, tell you guys about myself. What can I tell you? I have run several accounting firms. My field of expertise has been trusts, estates, restructuring businesses for many, many years. And I then decided to rather step out of the accounting game after many years in accounting and focus on business owners and restructuring of their businesses, because that's what I enjoy doing. I love numbers, I love data, and I love the patterns and the stories that these numbers tell us. That to me is what just gets the juices going. So yeah, that's really what I can tell you. I mean, I have many naughty badges. I've studied for many years, and the reason I keep doing that is just because I enjoy learning new things. But I suppose learning all these new things means nothing if you can't share that information with other people. And yes, I suppose that's why I keep studying. And my interest really is in tax and restructuring and how we can make these things better. And that's why I love working with accountants and financial planners, because I can work with your clients, but I don't have to, at the end of the day, deal with the clients. I deal with the numbers and the data, as I always say. So you guys people and I number, and that's what makes me happy. So yeah, that's what I can tell you about me. Anything you want to know other than that? Nothing. Okay, so yeah, you asked me to speak to your audience, and in line with numbers, that was your topic for the month. And I opted to speak about the truth in numbers. And the reason I chose that topic is, well, because I love numbers, but I also realized that not everyone else does. I find it so interesting how numbers tend to put the fear of, yes, everything in people. People seem to really be frightened by numbers. And I thought it would be maybe interesting to just talk about, well, what do those numbers really tell us? And because if we have more certainty and understand it better, then we can remove the fear that comes with those numbers. So yeah, if you are ready and the audience is ready, then we can jump straight into that. Great stuff. And guys, you're welcome to pop some questions in that chat block. And then Tamron will share that with me afterwards. Like I said, I am just going to close the chat block and the participant block for now. Where is, yeah, there we go, there's participants. I'm going to enlarge my screen, and then I am going to share my screen now. There we go. I think it's that one, screen one. No, maybe it's, is it this one? Oh, wait, maybe I must put this one on. Is it on? Let's just see. Oh, I think it's that one. There we go. Like I said, I'm good at numbers, maybe not at IT. So we've got truth of numbers up, Tamrin?
Yes, we do.
There we go. Okay, good stuff. And I just want to quickly pin this one. There we go. And we are off to go. Okay. So as you guys can see, this is probably how most people feel when they look at their company financials, when their bookkeepers or accountants come to them with company numbers, when they look at their bank statements or any other form of numbers in their business. Where when I see this, I get so excited because I start seeing patterns and I go like, how do we improve this? How do we make sense of this? So for me, I see this and I get so excited. And I think for most other people, they look at this and they go, make it go away, make it stop. This is scary. So if that is you, let's see how we can make that scary go away. So for me, the truth in numbers is often just our relationship with and our understanding of the numbers in our business. And really, that relationship and the understanding is going to define and impact our future. And the reason for that is because that relationship and that understanding will often determine, drive, and dictate how we make decisions. It will either guide us and lead us or chase us. We will either invite the information in, try and make sense of it, and make informed decisions, or we will often apply the ostrich approach and hope for the best. And in there is where we need to start nurturing the understanding, the relationship, so that we can, in actual fact, bridge that gap, if there is a gap. You see, even when we do find that we have a relationship with the numbers, even when we do find that it doesn't frighten us and that we do invite that information in, what I find sometimes is, because I do deal with a lot of business owners and I do deal with a lot of accountants, bookkeepers, financial planners, auditors, these are the people that I work with. What comes to light often is that there's also sort of a miscommunication, maybe a misunderstanding, or when people do approach me, what has happened is there's also maybe been some misinformation. So this is why it's so important for me that people in business do take ownership. You don't need to be a bookkeeper. You don't need to be an accountant. But you do need to have a certain level of understanding of what these things mean in your business so that you don't get bamboozled. And so that when someone speaks to you and they are giving you advice, that you know what this means and that actually you do know that you're getting the right advice as well. So with that being said, let's bridge that gap. So here's often what we think these numbers tell us. We think when we look at these numbers, we are seeing profits and losses. We have an income statement, cash flow, sales and revenue, expenses, stock sheets. These are all the things we think we see. So let's go through that. We think that this profit and loss, that's what it says. Money came in, money went out, and what's left is a profit. So I very seldom, when I communicate with people, will talk about a debit and credit. I leave that for the accountants and the bookkeepers. I leave that language for other people. What I want to see, and when I communicate with people, is I say money in, money out, and what's left over. And that is our profit. But sometimes we misunderstand that, because when taxes enter, we need to understand that not everything can be deducted from tax. We often have this thing of, yeah, but I can claim that from tax, and I can claim that from tax, and claim that from tax, and then I'm going to have a smaller profit. Not necessarily. Just because it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck doesn't mean it's a duck, especially not when it comes to tax. Not everything's a tax duck. Do remember that. Because we have so many tax rules. And here's one golden rule. It must be in production of income. Oh, and then it gets better. It's also limited. So that's why we need to understand that we have to have people that specialize and understand tax. Now, for the most part, your bookkeeper or your accountant should at least understand general business tax. But just because 100 Rand came in and 70 Rand went out does not mean I've got a 30 Rand profit, because of that 70 Rand that went out, maybe not the full 70 Rand can be deducted from tax. If any part of that 70 Rand was for your personal maintenance, does not necessarily mean I can deduct it from tax, which means I may have more than 30 Rand profit. And that brings me then back to, okay, so now in numbers, so on the books, as we call it, I have a profit. But the bank balance is not reflecting the same profit. So our friends over at Revenue, SARS, they are expecting us now to pay tax on profit. And this person, this bookkeeper, this accountant that is playing with all the numbers is telling me I have a profit and I have to pay tax. But I'm not seeing that in my bank account. You know that age-old saying of, you know, if there's checks in the checkbook, there should be money in the bank? No longer. So this is very, very important to understand. We need to understand the difference between profits and losses and what can truly be claimed off tax. Then our income statement, that is the document that will show us the money that came in and the money that went out. So that's a more truer reflection of money in, money out. Okay, so that's like going to show me the money in, money out, but it isn't necessarily going to show me the profit. The cash flow, that is the guy that's going to show me how much money do I have left at month end. But now again, this is where I need to be careful, because what about VAT? If we registered for VAT, remember, we have now to also, and I don't want to use the word play around with, but we need to take into consideration VAT. Because we've got our cash flow happening, we need to make provision for VAT. We need to maybe pay over VAT. We may have claimed VAT back. We have not received the VAT. And I don't know about you guys, but man, if you are claiming VAT, if you are maybe one of those people that's struggling to get your VAT back from SARS and are continuously experiencing VAT audits from SARS, what's happening is you're constantly paying out more VAT than what you're receiving back. So it impacts your cash flow. Because in the ideal world where we all eat rainbows, we should be paying VAT and claiming VAT, and they should be offsetting one another. Until you, of course, live in the real world where no one actually eats a rainbow and we don't get our VAT back. It will impact your cash flow. Then, of course, we've got our sales and or revenue. And often people will look at these numbers and go, oh, wait, the sales are down. So that's going to mean less profit. Not necessarily. Just because we are looking at these numbers and we see our sales dropping doesn't necessarily mean that our profits are down. Sales could be down because maybe a part didn't come in. So maybe our manufacturing is down, so we couldn't sell. Or maybe a certain item has come to an end of its life. So maybe we sell a certain item, a certain number of, or whatever the reason is. Maybe we have cycles of sale. I mean, if we are manufacturing school shoes, we are going to have certain spikes in sales. We are manufacturing school uniforms, for argument's sake. If we are producing products that sell higher in summer than in winter, we are going to have cycles in sales. So we need to understand how to read that. Same for expenses. Now I'll give you an example. This is a very interesting example that sometimes you don't take into account. I did business optimization for a person, I sat with him just before COVID, or just as we were coming out of COVID. Can't remember now. I think before COVID and as we're coming out of COVID. Yes, it was like a staggered approach. And this person has a training school, where they train students. But it is like an all-inclusive thing. So they are teaching people to be chefs. And what was happening here is we needed to see how we were going to optimize the business and take it to the next level, blah, blah. So what had happened is we worked out all the costings and we did everything. And we said, okay, so the students are going to come in and they also get accommodation. And this was the cost of what food we're going to cost, because now remember, if you are doing costing for a school where you are teaching kids to cook, you are providing the goods to make the eggs, the flour, the food that will be made. So we worked everything out. Good. But who could have taken into consideration? Now we're talking, this is now 2 years later, 3 years later. Look at what fuel has done in 1 year. Now you may say to me, what has fuel got to do literally with the price of eggs? Get this. Because of the price of fuel, food prices have increased dramatically. But this is not our biggest problem. Because of the continuous load shedding, we have to continuously run generators. Why? Well, these kids are cooking. Okay, so you and I that are not running ovens all day would not maybe need to run a generator all day. The problem is you can't run generators all day. They need a cooling off period. But when you're running generators to keep ovens going, and then you need to fill these generators with fuel that the price has doubled almost in a year. Food prices that have gone up. So all of a sudden, when you've worked out what a student will cost you in the beginning of the year versus what the cost of that student is at the end of the year, where you made a profit in the beginning of the year, you're running at a loss at the end of the year. Can you understand how something that dramatic can sink a business? Without doing anything else, just because of fuel prices and electricity supply. And that's what we need to understand when we look at numbers. It's got nothing to do with our expenses, but it's understanding what is happening, what all the other things are around us. Stock levels, we need to obviously understand our stock levels. Now, what would our stock levels tell us? It would tell us whether we have shrinkage. Are things disappearing? Are we manufacturing at the level we should? Are we having substandard manufacturing? In other words, if we have stock levels, are we having stock returns? In other words, we've manufactured and all of a sudden we have claims on warranties. Things are being returned. Things are breaking. Or are we having problems getting parts so that we can maintain, again, manufacturing? So there are many things when we look at stock numbers. What do those numbers tell us? So this is what I'm talking about, is we have this, what do we think our numbers tell us versus what is it that our numbers are telling us? Then we've got debts and taxes. Now, again, we often just lump these two together. Like, okay, these are bad guys. Let's chuck them together and train them up and throw them in the basement. This is the Renate stepchild. We don't want to deal with this. Okay. But think about this. Often we need debt to grow our business. If we make debt, we can maybe manufacture more. We can buy the equipment we need. So if we have the debt, we can do more. Of course, we need to understand that we need to service that debt. So will making this debt move us forward? What is the cost to benefit? Debt is not always bad. Debt is bad when we're paying it for no benefit. So understanding whether debt will be our friend or not. And then taxes. Well, you're only going to pay taxes if you made a profit. Yes, we did speak about profit at the top here, and we did come to an agreement that profit sometimes is only in numbers and not in coin. In other words, I don't see it in the bank balance. But when you tie it back, taxes only come from profit. And then, of course, there's always the economy. Who are we blaming today? Am I blaming no electricity? Am I blaming high fuel prices? Am I blaming Russia and the Ukraine? Who can I blame today? As long as it's not me, as long as I'm not blaming me. So, yes, we need to look at who we can blame. By the way, you're a business owner, the buck stops with you. The blame stops with you and your decision-making. So now this is what we think the numbers tell us. But how accurate is what we think the numbers tell us about our business? And this is what I love about numbers and what I love about what I do. When people bring me in to look at their businesses and say, listen, so why do they bring me in? Either the business is not growing, the business is not performing, or the business is maybe starting to lose money. And they'll go, okay, something's wrong here. Something's off. You know, it's like, you know, like a fish. It starts going off at the head. What's wrong? There's something is off here. And often people will say to me, we need to look at the numbers. Numbers will tell you there's blood. It's like when a patient gets to ER. It will tell you there's blood. But now we need to go and see where it's coming from. So we need to reverse engineer. And we need to go and see, okay, I'm with you. I get this. But what is it going to tell me? Where are we going? Where is all this going to go for me at the end of the day? So we need to go and figure out, is it money we're leaking? Yes, the business may not be performing. So are we leaking money? Is it our profit margin that is the problem? How close is it that we really are to the budget? Think about this case that I told you about, the fuel prices and the food prices that has increased. If we were working on a budget and we had looked at previous year's budgets and we were saying, okay, if we need to buy X number of eggs a month and eggs cost X a month, we should be spending X on eggs a month. And all of a sudden, the price of eggs has doubled. How close can you be to your budget? You're still buying the same amount of eggs. And you can't not buy the eggs because you need the eggs to make the cakes. You've gone off budget. We can see that. Is there anything we can do about it? No. So sometimes that happens. A company that is a courier company. It was very interesting. I got a notification the other day from the courier company. We now need to put up our fuel prices, our courier prices, and they had sent the fuel, a diagram of how the fuel prices had increased. And I found it incredibly interesting because I like data, I like numbers. And immediately it gave rise to me of how this must impact every single business in this country. If you use courier companies, if you need to move things around, if you've got sales staff, if you are manufacturing, it would impact your business. So you can stand on your head and whistle Dixie. If anything you do in your budget is tied at all anywhere closely to the fuel price, it would have doubled. So there's nothing you can do. So what do you have to do? You can't reduce your mileage. You can't reduce your fuel in order, you need to still do your business. So you're going to have to look at other ways of doing it, or increasing prices, or doing something. So you see what I'm saying is, just because you've moved away from your budget doesn't mean you can move closer back to your budget. Then you need to look at other things. Are we meeting production requirements? Often people go, oh, yeah, well, we're not meeting our production requirements. Okay. Well, you can't look at it in isolation. Again, if what you need is a part coming from overseas, and there are no ships coming in from overseas, like what happened after COVID, after all the borders opened, everyone was going, oh, wonderful, we can now operate again. But then there was a huge backlog with ships having to come and deliver. Moving, ports were all backed up for months. That was just the reality of the situation. Do we need to apply for finance? Remember earlier, I said sometimes debt could be your friend. But don't for 1 minute think you're going to apply for finance to get out of trouble. Finance will not be your friend when you need to finance your way out of trouble. Can you trade your way out of trouble? Sometimes you can. When you look at businesses that go into rescue, few of them can trade out of trouble, but it depends on what you change. So should you apply for finance? It depends what you're going to do with the finance. It depends on whether you can honor the payments. Again, it comes down to cost to benefit. Will you be able to honor the purpose of the finance, the payment of the finance, and will the finance do for you what your intention is? So if you have a machine that has reached end of life, and without this machine, you cannot continue your business, and you need to buy a new machine, but you need to finance that machine. And with a new machine, you can continue production, you can continue your business. And with the continued business, you can pay the finance and your business will continue. Then yes, you finance. But if financing is required to service the machine, which may or may not be fixed, which may or may not get back into production, which may or may not continue, then maybe not. Then are we in trouble with the taxman? And I see this more and more. I see more and more people getting in trouble with the taxman. Why? Times are tough, but what happens is people dip into their VAT and they dip into what should be their tax resources. So often when I work with companies, and again, please understand, I don't do accounting. I do restructuring and tax advice. I work with accountants and with bookkeepers. I don't do accounting, not anymore. My first piece of advice for companies is to create a sort of a pocket, let's call it a money market account. where you have your tax savings account. So whenever you need to have a pot of money that you need to pay for something, either you need to replace a machine, or you need to service that machine on a regular basis, that will cost money, or you need to have your taxes annually, which, by the way, you do. I always recommend that you create a sort of savings pocket. So that's why I call it a money market, because I know we're going to get interest on it. You create this separate account, and every month when your bookkeeper or your accountant gives you your management accounts, and you cannot run a business without management accounts, even if it is just your cash flow statement that tells you this is the money you've made this month, this is the estimated profit and taxes due for this particular month. You will take the portion of the tax out of your trading account, out of your checking account, out of your current account. You move it into this savings pocket where you cannot get your hands on it. And it lies in that money market account. So when I ran my businesses, I would every month at month end, I would take out the tax component, and I would, it each had its code. I would call it tax. I would take out the VAT, and I would go and put it in the other account. I also had a provision for bonuses, bonus money. So come December, I did not have to worry about where the money was going to come from, because every month I took out the provision and I put it in there, and come in November, December, I could bring it back into my trading account, and I could then pay bonuses to my staff. So all my little provisions would go out every month at month end. And when taxes were due, end August, so September, end August, September, and in February, when we needed to pay provisional tax, the money would come back in from that savings account into the trading account. And this was the way that I could assure we did not get into tax trouble. Because I was dealing with tax, I understood the consequences. Because let me tell you something, you want to get money from anywhere but tax. You want to use anyone else's money but SARS. Because you see, this is the thing. We have this thing in South Africa called the in duplum rule. Now, the in duplum rule says, if I owe anyone money, that is called the capital amount, they are not allowed to charge more interest than the capital amount. Okay, so what does that mean? If I owe someone 100,000 Rand, so let's say I owe a bank 100,000 Rand. I've got 100,000. Now, the interest on that 100,000 capital may not exceed the capital. So 100,000 maximum gives me now 200,000 in debt in total. So if I owe someone 100,000, the maximum interest they may charge me is up to capital amount, 100,000. I'm not talking any other added charges, because believe you me, they will find some charges. Now, this in duplum rule, let me tell you, don't get so excited, does not apply to SARS. So help you, if you owe SARS money, 100,000, that in duplum rule of interest does not apply to SARS. So the clock is ticking. And in some cases, they charge daily interest, some monthly, whatever. So not only do they charge you interest, they also charge you penalties. And the interest grows and grows and grows. And you will be charged interest on interest on interest. So they don't care what your capital amount is. And this is why you never want to use SARS's money. You never want to use the taxman's money, because trouble with SARS is not trouble you want. So that's the kind of trouble we want to stay out of. And then another one is, did the sales team reach their numbers? Now, often I get this thing of, yeah, but the salespeople don't meet their numbers. This is a favorite thing that comes across my desk. Don't do what I tell them. Okay. Well, on the sales numbers, what are the KPIs? What is the culture? What were the instructions? Do we have the stock? What is the reputation out in the market? What is the climate? So it's not just about, again, sales numbers. We need to look at all these things together. We can't just look at one number. The numbers will tell us a story, and we need to reverse engineer. One thing I've learned is when we think there's a problem with the numbers in our business, the source normally is one of two things. Only one of two. It's very seldom too little sales, too little money. Those are symptoms. Hear me when I tell you this. These are symptoms. The numbers are the symptoms. The problems come from two things. One, maybe the people in our business. And by the way, the people starts with us. Buck stops with us. People in our business, or the decisions we made. The numbers are only the symptoms. So let's see what the next slide says. And here we go, the reality of what the numbers tell us. So numbers really is just data. Numbers is raw data. And then we need to go and understand the outcomes or the results. And this is of our decisions or our actions. And this is what I just said. It's so often, it starts with the decisions we make. Now, those decisions are made often based or not based on data. So again, it starts with the data. It starts with those numbers. So either the numbers were there and we did look at them and we made a decision, or we did not look at them and we made a decision. And this is where it needs to be, again, going back to that relationship with the numbers. For me, it's so important that we create certainty. And we can only create certainty when, or we remove fear and anxiety through creating certainty. And we create certainty when we can give people information. So information will lead to certainty, and certainty hopefully will remove some fear and anxiety. Yes, you may not like the answer, but when you have an answer, the uncertainty, the fear, the anxiety of the unknown is removed. Yes, you may have fear of, oh, geez, Louise, now I have an answer I don't like, but I can work with that. I can work with a negative answer. But the fear of the unknown is a far worse fear than the fear of, I don't like this answer. So danger zones, but also upscaling potential. So these are things that we need to understand, that sometimes we think it's a danger zone, but maybe it's not. The money, the people, the client service, and the resources. So in our business, if we don't understand the numbers behind the money, the people, the client service, and the resources, these things will be danger zones. And if we do understand the numbers here, it's upscaling potential. Maybe we don't want to upscale. Maybe we just want to cruise. For some people, having a business that is peace of mind is far more important than upscaling. Whatever it is that is for you the important part, what is important is that you don't want to have a danger zone. You don't want to have fear. You don't want to have anxiety. Tranquil waters are far more important. And tranquil waters can also be reached in upscaling or not upscaling. But, and remember, this is my point of view because I come from a numbers and data space. But if you understand the numbers behind the money, the numbers behind the people. Now, how can I say these numbers behind people? The numbers behind the people means their performance, their safety, their calmness, because the money and the numbers will impact the people. Client service, also, there will be numbers there. So the numbers will impact your client service. How are you delivering to your clients? What are you doing with feedback from your clients? What is the circle of client service? So when there's feedback from happy, when there's feedback from unhappy, how do we deal with our client service? What does that look like? And resources. Resources can be money. It can be the items, the stuff we have, but it is also our people. But the thing is, we cannot look at our team as just a resource. So again, the numbers will impact us there. So there we go. How the numbers in our business relate to you as an individual. And here we come full circle. I just want to keep my eye on time. So yes, our actions are driven by our decisions, because it's an action and a reaction. And our decisions will be driven by the following factors: our behavior, our biases. If we have a certain bias, a way we behave, a way we believe something to be, it will definitely impact our decision making. You know, you've ever heard that thing of, you know, where people will believe that, someone driving a fancy car must be an idiot. You know, when people have these kind of biases, it will impact how you run your business. It will impact how you make decisions. Decisions impact your business. Your choices, how you make your choices, your ethics. I was at a full day workshop yesterday, and one of the people that spoke there was a doctor in ethics and how ethics impact our business. And it was phenomenal to listen to this person and how ethics impact our business. And he was explaining the 3 levels of ethics, where you have, for instance, the toddler ethics, which is we just behave to either stay out of trouble or to get rewarded. That's like when you're at the toddler level. Then you've got the middle level, where you just follow the rules. That's it. End of story. You follow the rules because that's what society wants, and you want to be liked by society. But you never think further than, okay, but is this truly what's right? Is this truly acceptable? And then you've got the third group that understands what the rules are, but they want to morally and ethically also look at it and go, but is this truly acceptable? Is this truly right? Yes, we understand there are rules, but they are not blindly just going to follow the rules. Now, to give you an example, if you get to the hospital, okay, and you've got someone with you, and this person is in incredible pain, but you don't go to emergency, you go to the front door. And the rule at the hospital is you must first fill out all these forms, then we're going to contact your medical aid, then we're going to see if the medical aid is going to allow you in. We have to follow these procedures when we go in the front door. But in the back door, if you went into emergency, and if this person was in incredible pain, they would first look at the person and then start with the forms. Do you understand? So this is where we've got so sometimes the hospital, so medical rule is, or the first rule of ethics for medical is first do no harm. But now you get to the hospital and their first rule is first fill in form. So do you understand that their rule and their ethics may not align when you go in the front door, where when you go into the emergency door, it looks a bit different. Now, ethics can impact your business like this. If your ethics and the rules on the wall differ from one another, it can impact how you do business. Then how full is our tank? And by that, I mean, do we have bandwidth? How exhausted, how mentally exhausted are we? If we are juggling a million balls and we are running at full speed and we are making decisions all day long, how decision fatigued are we? Are we in a space where we are resilient enough to make the right decision at that particular moment? That will impact our business. Some people will be better at decision making first thing in the morning. Others will be better at decision making in the afternoon. Some people will be burnt out by the end of October. Some people will be burnt out by the end of April. You need to understand where you are. How full is your tank when you have to make these decisions? And you have to be at a space where you can say, hold on, you know what? At the moment, I don't have the bandwidth to deal with this. I need to set it aside. If this is an important decision that can impact my business, the people in my business, the finances of my business, I need to set this aside. I cannot make this decision right now. Fears. How will my fears impact my decision making? And as a result, the numbers in my business. Because at some point, we may have made so many decisions and we may have watched things going against us, like maybe the decisions one after the other may not have yielded the results we wanted. And all of a sudden, we are too scared to make the next decision. We're too scared to take the next step. How's that going to impact our business? How will that impact our numbers? And then resilience. People naturally have different levels of resilience. But you, as an individual, will have a different level of resilience at different times of the day, at different times of the week, at different times of the year. If you have been running on empty for long enough, your level of resilience will be lower than if you've just had a great success, closed a great deal, come back from holiday, have money in the bank versus having no money in the bank. These things will impact your resilience. You may naturally have a high level of resilience, but you have a couple of really nasty deals and some really bad comments on service, man, your resilience is going to be a lot lower than it normally is. You need to take all these things into account before you take a big decision. As much as we think it doesn't impact our decision-making, it impacts our decision-making. Our decision-making impacts our numbers. It's not just numbers. So where are we next? Let's have a look, see. Oh, okay. So there is where we end with this particular talk. So the idea was for you to understand that numbers in itself is not the scary thing. Numbers actually tells us a story. For me, what I love most about numbers is the fact that numbers don't have emotions. It's black and white. Numbers tell me a story. Numbers don't lie. Doesn't slam doors, doesn't get upset with me, doesn't have emotions. Numbers are always the same. It's always black and white. Can't lie, and it tells me the story. I just need to listen, and I just need to understand what it's trying to tell me. And I just need to look out for the right stuff. Now, here's the thing. We all have our own superpowers. Thank goodness for that. Some people are great at manufacturing. Some people are great at client service. Others are great at numbers. If you don't hear the story that numbers tell you, you don't need to learn to listen to the story per se. Surround yourself with people that then can tell you the story. But don't be scared of the numbers. Just don't. Understand that numbers are there to tell you the story. Numbers are there to tell you that you are making decisions and that we need to look at those decisions that are being made. And that's all it is. And sometimes we just need to change our decisions. Sometimes we just need to change the way we're doing things. Can we do it better? Can we optimize it? Are we on the right track? That's what it is. That's what numbers tell us. So if you guys are interested, I also run a money EQ workshop. I was thinking of running another one for, let's just move the face down. I was thinking of running one more for 2022, depending on the uptake and if people are interested in it. And that is really where I talk to you about your personal relationship with money. So the money EQ is really about your personal relationship with money, pretty much the same as your relationship with numbers. And those two very much work hand in hand. Yeah, so it's often, if your bank balance does give you the heebie-jeebies. And yeah, there's money triggers, the same as number triggers, you get money triggers. So if you guys are interested, you can reach out about that. And I think I can stop sharing now. There we go. And then I know, Tamron, I did share with you my document on business coaching and mentoring for anyone that is interested. But now, if anyone has any questions, then I'm here. So I hope you guys have learned something about numbers. I do love numbers. I don't know if it came across, but I like me a number. I've never yet met a number I didn't like. So, Tamron, anything from your side? Any questions from the audience? Oh, and check it out. I give you 2 minutes back of your time.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I thought that was amazing. It was a great way of recognizing what numbers do and don't tell us. And I think you highlighted really good questions to ask when dealing with your accountant, or if you are doing your own accounts, when you're looking at your reports, ask yourself the questions of what lies behind it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I see that Ashish did as well. Says thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have put in the session, in the chat box, I've put Renate's LinkedIn contact, her website, her YouTube channel, and her Spotify podcast, so you can connect. I have shared the brochure. And yeah, if there are any questions, now is your chance to ask them. Anything about numbers that mystify and terrify you?
Thanks, Ray. I think that's how you pronounce your name. Yeah, I'm always surprised when people say they like the talk and that they found it interesting, because for me this is like so everyday, and this is what I work with. So it's like I'm so glad that people find value in it. Yeah, I think if more people just find numbers interesting, and that it's just telling a story, it just tells a story. Yeah, this is me sitting in a dark corner making numbers talk all day, and yeah, that's what I love doing. So guys, thank you so much for your time, and I really am grateful that you enjoyed it, and for you guys spending your time with us. And Tamron, thank you so much for making this wonderful platform available for your audience. I think it's an amazing way for people to just enrich themselves and to find valuable resources to help them grow their businesses, because I do think that business owners do need to have access to resources, because there are many resources out there, but finding the resources that can truly help you and keep you on the straight and narrow sometimes is difficult to just find the pools of wisdom in the noise out there. There's just so much noise out there. So thank you. I think you've created a great platform here for your audience.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. Anyone have any questions? You can put your microphone on or your video on, or put them in the chat. Otherwise, as I say, please do click on Renate's contact details and connect with her directly if you would like her to take a good look at your company and see how she can help you improve. Optimization is her game. She's very good at it. So if you are looking to optimize and grow, then I really highly recommend that you do contact her. If you are looking specifically for help in getting your numbers in order and your cash flow under control, then you can give me a shout instead. And otherwise, I'm not seeing questions come through. So I'm going to let you go. If you want to go, we are done. Thank you so much for joining us all today. If you are visiting us for the first time, please do go look at Business Builder. I'm assuming you joined us via LinkedIn, so go have a look at our LinkedIn page and click on the website. We offer 30 days free, so you can come and try us for 30 days without paying a cent. I would encourage you to do so before the end of the year. Ray, do you have a question?
No, I'm happy. I have made lots of notes, and I will, when I start making money, I will start building those pockets so that I can make the provisions. I promise.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. Great stuff. Yeah, just whatever you do, stay out of trouble with SARS.
That's why we've got Tamarin.
There we go.
Tamarin's going to be taking care of all of my SARS problems. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to give it to Tamarin.
Make me worry about it.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much, guys. Have yourselves an awesome day. I'm out.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Have a great day.